Hey brother, welcome back to the Happy Man Coaching channel. I'm your Happy Man coach, Charlie McKeever, and in this video, I want to talk to you about why it may be difficult to have uncomfortable conversations with your wife and why those conversations may not always go well. I was just on a call with my mentor and men's group. Yes, I'm a coach, a men's coach, and I have a men's mentor. I highly recommend that every man have a man that he can talk to. I'll talk to you more about that in a moment, but first I want to say that on our call we were talking about having uncomfortable conversations, and which in itself can be an uncomfortable conversation because we have to be honest with ourselves. We have to be vulnerable with ourselves. We have to say what it is that we're having a hard time having conversations about. And so anyway, in this conversation it came up that we were talking about, and we said, you know what? Sometimes there's two sides to a coin in a conversation. Sometimes what makes a conversation difficult to have is that we are having conversations in our head beforehand. We're already afraid of the outcome. We're pressurizing what we think will happen, our fears, what we're ashamed of, what we are uncomfortable already talking about. And so we try to run these things through as scenarios in our head. We try to get ahead of it. We try to figure out what the other person might say and what we might say in response to what they might say. And it just turns into this fearful, anxious, shame-filled environment in our head, in our bodies. Like we can feel it all in our body. We feel uncertain, unsafe, unsettled. We have butterflies. We have tension. We've got uneasiness. Maybe our heart rate increases just thinking about these things. And so I wrote myself some notes here. You know, this is when we're having these conversations in our heads, when we're pressurizing the fear, like I said, and we're avoiding outcomes. The other side of that coin, though, is that we might be someone who's confronting, right? So maybe one side of the coin is avoiding and the other side of the coin is confronting. So in confronting, we can have expectation, we can have frustration, we can have confusion, we can have resentment because we think that we know how these things are supposed to go, but the other person won't participate in the conversation. We lean in hard in this case, and the other person leans back. And we can't understand why they're being weird, why they're avoiding, why they're stonewalling. What we don't understand is that they don't feel emotionally safe, that this is uncomfortable for them, that they don't know how to express it, and that they're avoiding the discomfort. They're not really avoiding us. And so we have these two sides of a coin of an uncomfortable conversation where we might think that these things are the other person. We might not be able to see ourselves. So recently, I was on the roof of my son, and we're putting up Christmas lights. We were having this conversation about how I've always been kind of like, I just kind of go headlong into something. As soon as I make up my mind about it, I'm just kind of like, I'm just going to go right headlong into that. And I really don't want any sort of obstacles. I don't want really anything to get in my way. And so I will just push through, push past, push down, whatever it is. And that's something that I had to learn, had to become aware of about myself, because what I didn't realize is that I had seen that as a positive attribute about myself, that I was getting stuff done, right? And a lot of times the guys that I talk with are high achievers. They're guys who at work, they do well because they get stuff done. They check the boxes, they get the gold star, they get the promotion. Maybe they're, admired and appreciated at work, but when they go home, things seem to fall apart. And that's because I didn't realize that when I was making those executive decisions, when I was pushing forward on those things, that I wasn't considering the other side of the conversation, the other half of it, the other part of the equation, the other person. I wasn't realizing how that was leaving the other person feeling powerless, how it was making the other person feel unheard, making the other person feel unsafe. I was viewing it as I was doing something good, and it was being seen as something unsafe and unsettling. And it wasn't until I started thinking of that in terms of an analogy that it helped me to really solidify that for myself. So now imagine you're in the car and you're navigating, you're driving down the highway, you are gauging your speed, you're gauging the traffic, you're gauging all of the things around you, and you feel very comfortable. Maybe you're in the flow, you're changing lanes, you're moving, you're maybe you're driving above the speed limit. You're matching the traffic, you're matching the speed and flow of the traffic, and you feel very comfortable with the ride because you have the steering wheel and you have the brake and you have the gas pedal. But the passenger doesn't have any of those things. The passenger doesn't have a brake or a steering wheel or a gas pedal. And so they don't enjoy the ride nearly as much as you do because they don't feel like they're in control of these things. And so this is something that we can learn to navigate. This is something that we can learn to regulate, that we can learn to be more aware of in our relationships, that we can show up for these conversations being able to understand both what's going on in our own mind, what's going on in our own body, and then be able to be aware of the other person's insecurities, the other person's fears, the other person's shame. Not that we have to own their thoughts or manage or control their feelings, but that we can just be aware so that we can walk into these things knowing that it's not going to be avoiding an uncomfortable conversation, and it's not going to be just sort of headlong into bull in the china shop mode either. It's going to be something where we're going to be able to show up for that conversation with clarity about what we want, where we're going, who we are, and then knowing what we're inviting that other person into and being curious about where they are and what's going on with them, and not taking their expression, their thoughts, their feelings personally, that we're actually able to observe and say, something's going on with that other person. I wonder what that is. And then be able to be in partnership with each other and work this thing out. This is the type of thing that I talk about with the guys in my community. We talked about it today on the call, like I said, with my mentor. We have these calls every week. We have them on Monday nights and we have them on Saturday mornings. We have discussions all week long in the community where we talk with each other about these things. We bring up these types of issues with each other, and we share our experiences with each other. So that's what I want to invite you into today, brother. I want you to come and join me in that. Come check out the community, be in brotherhood with other men who can actually be able to share their experiences with you, who can tell you how things have worked for them, who can invite and ask questions and help you get clarity about what it is that you want and who you really are and where you're going, and can help you adjust course as needed. Go to happymancoaching.com/community. You can check us out. There's also going to be a link in the description, and you can also message me anytime. You can fill out that contact form that's on my website, schedule a call, we can talk. We'll spend a little bit of time talking about where you are, where you want to go, and some of the uncomfortable conversations, things that you want to discuss but you're afraid to. We can talk about those things too. That's what I have for you today. Thanks for being here. I'll talk to you soon.